North India, after the Mauryan collapse, saw rule by the Shungas, Kamas, Kushanas, and Shakas, each controlling different regions and periods. These dynasties competed for power but collectively kept the subcontinent politically fragmented until stronger empires like the Guptas emerged. South and West India developed independently under the Satavahanas, Ikshvakus, Abhiras, and Vakatakas during the same period. This regional diversity meant southern art and culture evolved separately from northern styles, creating distinct sculptural and architectural traditions. Brahmanical sects, Shaivites who worshipped Shiva, Vaishnavites who worshipped Vishnu, and Shaktites who worshipped the divine feminine gained prominence as Buddhism's influence weakened. These groups shaped religious patronage of art, temples, and ritual practices across post-Mauryan kingdoms. Rock-cut caves and stupas continued as architectural forms, but sculpture during this era reached its artistic peak with unprecedented technical skill and emotional expression. This period produced masterpieces in stone carving, human figures, celestial beings, and narrative reliefs that define Indian classical sculpture. Viharas were residential halls carved into rock where Buddhist and Jain monks lived together in monastic communities. These structures developed during the Mauryan period and became the primary dwelling spaces for religious practitioners. Chaitya halls emerged in the post-Mauryan period as quadrangular chambers with flat roofs designed specifically for prayer and worship. Unlike Vihars, Chaityas were communal prayer spaces, not residences. Chaitya halls featured open courtyards surrounded by stone screen walls that protected worshippers from rain while maintaining ventilation. The walls and interior surfaces were decorated with detailed carvings of human and animal figures. Karle Chaitya Hall stands as one of the finest examples of post-Mauryan rock-cut architecture. Ajanta caves contain 29 total caves comprising 25 vihars and 4 chaityas, showcasing both residential and prayer structures in one complex. Kalinga king Kharavela ruled during the 1st-2nd century BC. He commissioned the Udayagiri and Khandagiri cave complex as a major Jain religious center. Kharavela was sometimes titled Bhikshu Raja, meaning monk king, blending monastic devotion with royal authority. This title reflects his dual commitment to Jainism and statecraft. The caves are located near modern-day Bhubaneswar in Odisha. This region was the heart of ancient Kalinga kingdom. Udayagiri contains 18 caves, while Khandagiri contains 15 caves, totaling 33 rock-cut structures. These caves were excavated over decades during Kharavela's reign. These caves served as residential quarters for Jain monks. The monastic community used them for meditation, study, and religious practice. The Hathigumpha inscription is carved in Brahmi script inside the Udayagiri caves. It is the most historically significant inscription found at this site. The inscription begins with the Jain Namokar mantra, the fundamental Jain prayer. It then documents Kharavela's military conquests across the subcontinent. The Rani Gumpha cave in Udayagiri features a double-storied structure with ornate carvings. Its sculptures showcase high-quality craftsmanship in post-Mauryan art. The Hathigumpha inscription is located in Udayagiri, not Khandagiri. Many students confuse the two cave complexes when asked about this inscription. So, Kharavela belonged to the Kalinga or Chedi dynasty, a key detail for Prelims MCQs. His reign marked a major post-Mauryan power center in eastern India. Most students think Hathigumpha inscription is in Khandagiri caves. Wrong. It's exclusively in Udayagiri. Remember, Hathigumpha equals Udayagiri always. Post-Mauryan stupas grew larger and featured more ornamental decoration than earlier examples. This shift reflected increasing royal patronage and architectural ambition among later dynasties. Stone gradually replaced wood and brick as the primary building material for stupas. This change made stupas more durable and allowed for more intricate carved ornamentation. The Shunga dynasty introduced torans, beautifully decorated stone gateways, as a major architectural addition to stupas. Torans became a defining feature of post-Mauryan stupa design. Torans featured intricately carved figures and geometric patterns, reflecting Hellenistic artistic influences from the northwest. This fusion of Indian and Greek artistic traditions marked an important cultural exchange. Harud Stupa in Madhya Pradesh is a key example of Shunga period stupa decoration. Its torans display narrative stone carvings depicting Jatak tales and Buddhist themes. Sanchi Stupa in Madhya Pradesh features four magnificent torans regarded as masterpieces of Shunga sculptural art. These gateways showcase some of the finest carved reliefs from ancient India. Sanchi's torans were added during the Shunga period, not Ashoka's original Mauryan construction. This distinction is critical. Ashoka built the basic stupa mound, but later dynasties added the elaborate gateway decoration. Most students assume Ashoka built Sanchi's famous torans. Wrong. Ashoka constructed only the stupa dome. The Shunga dynasty added the torans centuries later. Remember, Sanchi stupa equals Mauryan code plus Shunga decoration. Gandhara school of sculpture emerged in the northwestern Punjab frontier, spanning modern-day Peshawar and the Kandahar region of Afghanistan. This location on the crossroads between Central Asia and India made it a melting pot for artistic traditions. Gandhara art flourished from 50 BC to 500 AD, a period spanning early Common Era centuries. This 550-year span saw multiple artistic phases and external cultural influences. The Gandhara school is also called the Greco-Indian school or Indo-Greek school of art. These alternate names reflect its hybrid nature, blending Mediterranean and Indian artistic traditions. Greek and Roman sculptural traditions heavily influenced Gandhara art forms. This foreign influence shaped how Buddhist religious imagery was visually represented in stone. Gandhara's early stage used bluish-grey sandstone as the primary sculptural material. Artisans chose the stone for its durability and fine carving potential. The later stage of Gandhara art shifted to mud and stucco materials. This change reflected evolving local availability and new sculptural techniques adapted over time. Buddha images in Gandhara feature wavy hair, minimal ornaments, a yogic seated posture, and half-closed eyes with a cranial protuberance symbolizing omniscience. These features blend Greco-Roman realism with Buddhist iconography. Gandhara Buddha images were modeled after the Greco-Roman pantheon, resembling Apollo, the Greek god of music and sun. This direct borrowing shows how Western religious art influenced Buddhist representation. Kushana rulers served as the primary patrons of Gandhara art. Their multicultural empire actively sponsored this fusion of Greco-Roman and Buddhist sculptural traditions. Gandhara used two distinct materials across its timeline, bluish-grey sandstone in the early phase and mud plus stucco in the later phase. Calling it solely a sandstone school misses its material evolution. Most students think Gandhara school used only sandstone throughout its period. Wrong. Early phases used bluish-grey sandstone, but later phases shifted to mud and stucco. Material changes reflected both artistic innovation and local resource availability over 550 years. The Mathura school developed along the banks of the Yamuna River in the Mathura, Sonk, and Kankalatila areas of Uttar Pradesh. This riverine location made it a major trade and cultural hub during the post-Mauryan period. Mathura sculpture flourished from the 1st to 3rd centuries BC, emerging as the earliest indigenous school to represent Buddhist imagery. This period preceded the Gandhara school's development by several decades. Artists used spotted red sandstone, a locally available material with distinctive mottled appearance, for most Mathura sculptures. This distinctive stone became the hallmark of the school's visual identity across regions. The Mathura school uniquely influenced all three religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism simultaneously. No other ancient Indian sculptural school produced images for all three faiths at the same period. Mathura sculptors based their Buddha models on earlier Yaksha images from the Mauryan period, adapting their form and posture. This continuity shows how Indian artists transformed existing sculptural traditions into new religious imagery. Kankalatila, located in Mathura, Uttar Pradesh, is a crucial archaeological site that reveals the school's development. It's particularly famous for Jain sculptures, proving Mathura's importance to Jainism alongside Buddhism. Mathura Buddhas display distinctive features, a smiling, delighted face paired with a muscular body, shaven head, and tight-fitting dress. These characteristics emphasize the Buddha's humanity and physical vitality unlike other sculptural traditions. Buddha figures sit in Padmasana, the lotus position, while displaying various mudras, hand gestures that convey spiritual states. The face radiates grace and composure despite the body's firm, powerful stance. The halo surrounding Mathura Buddhas is noticeably larger than the Gandhara style's halo and contains geometric patterns. This decorated halo became a defining visual signature of Mathura's approach to representing divine radiance. Mathura Buddhas are flanked by two bodhisattvas, Padmapani on one side holding a lotus and Vajrapani holding a thunderbolt. This compositional formula standardized the way attendant figures framed the central Buddha image. Hindu gods in Mathura sculptures are shown with avayudhas, their distinctive weapons or attributes like Shiva's linga phallus symbol and Mukhalinga linga with face. These iconographic elements became standardized templates for later Hindu sculpture traditions. Kushana rulers patronized the Mathura school, providing resources and royal support for sculptural production. Without this patronage, the school couldn't have achieved such scale and sophistication across multiple religious traditions. Mathura developed entirely indigenously without external influence, contrasting sharply with Gandhara's Greco-Roman stylistic borrowings. This pure Indian development makes Mathura the first truly native Buddhist sculptural tradition. The Mathura school was the first to create human images of Buddha in sculptural form, a revolutionary break from earlier aniconic representation. This innovation directly answers the most asked UPSC question on post-Mauryan art schools. Most students think Mathura copied Greek techniques like Gandhara did. Wrong. Mathura developed completely independently without external influence. Remember this distinction because Prelims always tests it. Mathura equals indigenous, Gandhara equals Greco-Roman hybrid. Amaravati Sculpture School flourished on the banks of the Krishna River in the lower Krishna-Godavari Valley, with major sites at Amaravati and Nagarjunakonda. This geographical location in South India made it distinct from northern art centers and allowed it to develop independent artistic traditions. Amaravati was the only Indian sculpture school to use white marble as its primary material. This choice of marble, not sandstone or stone like other schools, gave Amaravati sculptures their distinctive luminous appearance and technical precision. The Satavahana rulers patronized and funded Amaravati's artistic development, not the Kushanas who dominated northern India. This patronage by South Indian dynasties shaped the school's Buddhist themes and regional character. Amaravati's influence was predominantly Buddhist, arising from indigenous South Indian artistic traditions rather than foreign imports. This independent origin distinguishes it from schools that borrowed heavily from Greco-Roman or Central Asian styles. Amaravati sculpture emphasized dynamic and narrative art, depicting entire scenes and stories rather than isolated religious figures. The storytelling approach allowed sculptors to narrate complex events across multiple panels and surfaces. The Tribhanga posture, a body stance with three distinct bends at neck, torso, and hips, became the signature pose in Amaravati sculptures. This posture created an S-curve silhouette that conveyed grace and spiritual elegance unique to this school. Amaravati sculptors frequently depicted Jataka tales, stories of Buddha's previous lives in both human and animal forms, along with narratives from Buddha's own life. These narrative cycles covered entire monument surfaces, making temples themselves into visual storybooks. Three core identifiers of Amaravati are white marble material, Satavahana royal patronage, and narrative artistic style combined together. Remember, these three elements appearing together in an exam question signal Amaravati sculpture school specifically. When Prelims asks which sculpture school used the Tribhanga posture, the answer is Amaravati. This three-bend body posture became so characteristic that identifying it immediately points to this South Indian school. Most students think Kushanas patronized Amaravati and it used sandstone. Wrong. Satavahanas patronized Amaravati, which uniquely used white marble. Remember this combination of patron plus material plus region together to avoid mixing Amaravati with northern Kushana schools. Gandhara art absorbed heavy Greek and Hellenistic influence from Indo-Greek contact in the northwest. This blending of Greek aesthetics with Buddhist themes became the school's defining characteristic. Mathura school developed entirely from indigenous Indian artistic traditions without any external artistic influence. This purely homegrown origin shaped its distinctly Indian aesthetic vocabulary. Amaravati sculpture emerged from indigenous Indian roots with no foreign artistic input. Its development reflected purely local South Indian artistic conventions and techniques. Gandhara artists initially carved bluish-gray sandstone for their sculptures. Later, artisans shifted to mud and stucco materials, which allowed easier carving and faster production. Mathura sculptors exclusively used spotted red sandstone quarried locally from Mathura region. This distinctive material became a signature identifier of Mathura school pieces. Amaravati artists worked primarily with white marble brought from quarries. This marble's brightness and fine grain enabled intricate narrative detailing on sculptural panels. Gandhara patronage focused on Buddhist subjects combined with Greco-Roman deities and mythological figures. This religious syncretism reflected the cosmopolitan nature of Kushana courts. Mathura uniquely depicted all three religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism, in its sculptures. This religious pluralism made Mathura a major production center for diverse communities. Amaravati sculpture concentrated almost exclusively on Buddhist subjects and narratives. Religious focus remained narrow compared to the eclecticism of Mathura school. Kushana rulers actively commissioned and patronized Gandhara art during their reign. Royal sponsorship ensured Gandhara's development as a major sculptural center. Kushana rulers equally patronized Mathura sculpture schools throughout their empire. This dual patronage meant both Gandhara and Mathura flourished simultaneously under Kushana support. Satavahana dynasties served as primary patrons for Amaravati sculptural works. Their generous sponsorship allowed Amaravati to develop distinctive stylistic features. Gandhara developed in the northwest frontier region spanning Peshawar, Afghanistan, and Kandahar areas. Geographic proximity to Greco-Roman territories enabled cultural exchange. Mathura school centered around Mathura city and nearby sites like Sonk and Kamkalitila along Yamuna river banks. These riverside locations became major sculptural production hubs. Amaravati flourished in Krishna Godavari Delta region with major sites at Amaravati and Nagarjunakonda. This southern location isolated it from northern artistic influences. Gandhara sculptors favored single, isolated Buddha images in yogic and meditative postures. This isolated portraiture conveyed spiritual introspection and ascetic discipline. Mathura artists depicted single images of Buddha, Hindu deities and Jain Tirthankaras with smiling, muscular forms. The humanized, cheerful expressions contrasted sharply with Gandhara's austere spirituality. Amaravati specialized in narrative and dynamic compositions showing action, movement, and storytelling. Tribhanga posture, with three body bends, created rhythmic, visual flow across panels. Gandhara's unique feature was the Apollyon face, resembling Greek god Apollo, with toga-style drapery and wavy hair. These Greek elements made Buddha appear like a Hellenistic sage. Mathura first depicted human images of Buddha instead of symbols like stupas and footprints. Mathura also pioneered iconographic figures like Padmapani and Vajrapani attending the Buddha. Amaravati's signature features included Tribhanga posture, white marble medium, and narrative panel compositions. These elements made Amaravati instantly recognizable from other schools. Gandhara Buddha images conveyed spiritual and meditative mood with half-closed eyes gazing inward. This introspective quality emphasized renunciation and yogic discipline. Mathura Buddha wore delighted, smiling expressions with muscular, athletic bodies. This joyful appearance humanized Buddha and made him approachable to devotees. Amaravati placed Buddha as part of larger narrative scenes rather than isolated focus. The Buddha became one element within epic storytelling across sculptural panels. Greek art pursued idealistic representation, showing gods and men at their strongest and most beautiful. This aspirational approach shaped how cultures visualized divine and human perfection for centuries. Roman art prioritized realism, depicting actual people and historical events as they were, not as ideals. This documentary impulse made Roman art a record of lived experience rather than aspirational fantasy. Greek sculptors preferred marble as their primary material, as seen in Parthenon sculptures. Marble's fine grain allowed them to carve the delicate, idealized forms they sought. Roman artists mastered concrete construction and created mural paintings on plaster walls. Concrete's durability and ease of use made large-scale Roman structures and interior decorations possible. Greek art drew subjects from mythology, gods, heroes, and legendary narratives like those depicted on the Parthenon. Mythological imagery gave Greek art universal, timeless appeal across cultures. Roman art selected real historical figures and events as its subject matter. This focus on documented reality made Roman art function as visual propaganda and historical record. Greek sculptural style emphasized muscular, anatomically idealized depictions of gods and athletes. This muscularity communicated power, divinity, and physical perfection in human form. Roman artistic style favored realistic ornamentation and decorative detail, visible in portraits and architectural embellishment. This ornamental realism made Roman interiors visually complex and narratively rich. Gandhara borrowed Greek art's idealistic and muscular imagery for depicting Buddha and Bodhisattvas. This Greco-Buddhist fusion created the first anthropomorphic Buddha statues in stone. Gandhara adopted Roman narrative and ornamental techniques, using realistic detail to tell religious stories in sculpture and relief. This combination made Gandhara art visually narrative and decoratively sophisticated. Bhumisparsha means touching the earth, is the gesture of calling the earth to witness. This mudra depicts Buddha's spiritual victory at the moment of enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree. The left hand rests palm upright in the Buddha's lap, while the right hand extends downward with palm facing the earth. This asymmetrical positioning is immediately recognizable in sculptural representations. Bhumisparsha represents the precise moment when Buddha attained enlightenment after defeating Mara's temptations. This gesture symbolizes his triumph through meditation and inner strength rather than external force. Akshobhya, the blue Buddha of the eastern direction, is the primary deity associated with this mudra. Akshobhya embodies stability and the immovable nature of enlightenment. Bhumisparsha is the most frequently depicted mudra in Buddha statuary across Asian Buddhist regions. Its prevalence in temples and sculptures makes it the defining gesture of Buddhist iconography. Most students think Bhumisparsha is a rare mudra. Wrong. It's the most common mudra in Buddha statues. Its frequency in sculptures and temples makes it critical to recognize for art history prelims questions. Dhyana mudra represents meditation, samadhi, and yoga, three terms for deep spiritual absorption. It's the hand gesture symbolizing the highest state of contemplative consciousness in Buddhist art. Both hands rest in the lap, with the back of the right hand placed on the palm of the left hand. The fingers of both hands remain extended, not curled or clenched. The thumbs of both hands touch at their tips, creating a triangular shape between them, called the mystic triangle. This geometric detail holds deep symbolic meaning in Buddhist iconography. Dhyana mudra signifies the attainment of spiritual perfection and enlightenment through meditation. It visually communicates the Buddha's transcendence of ordinary consciousness. Buddha adopted this mudra during his final meditation beneath the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya. This moment marked his achievement of complete enlightenment and nirvana. Dhyana mudra is defined by both hands remaining in the lap. This distinguishes it from Abhaya mudra, which has one hand raised in a gesture of fearlessness. The lap position is essential to recognizing this mudra in sculptural representations. Most students think Dhyana mudra has one hand raised. Wrong. Both hands rest in the lap with thumbs touching. This lap position contrasts directly with Abhaya's raised hand gesture, making it a critical identification marker in prelims image-based questions. Vitarka mudra represents the teaching phase of Buddhism through a gesture of intellectual debate and discussion. This hand position symbolizes the transmission of Buddhist knowledge and philosophical discourse. The thumb and index fingertips touch each other to form a circle in Vitarka mudra. This circular formation carries symbolic meaning in Buddhist iconography beyond mere hand positioning. The right hand is held at shoulder level, while the left hand rests at hip level with palm facing upward. This asymmetrical positioning creates the distinctive visual identity of Vitarka mudra in sculptural and artistic representations. Vitarka mudra signifies the teaching phase of Buddhism and represents constant flow of energy without beginning or end. This unbroken energy cycle reflects the continuous nature of Buddhist transmission and enlightenment. Vitarka Mudra has one hand positioned at shoulder level, while Dharmachakra Mudra requires both hands positioned at chest level. This difference in hand placement distinguishes these two mudras used in depicting different phases of Buddha's life and teachings. Most students think Vitarka and Dharmachakra mudras share identical hand positions. Wrong. Vitarka uses one hand at shoulder level, Dharmachakra uses both hands at chest level. This positioning difference marks distinct Buddhist teaching phases in iconographic representation. Abhaya Mudra conveys fearlessness, strength, and inner security through hand gesture. This mudra became the primary symbolic way to show Buddha's mental and spiritual state after his enlightenment. The right hand rises to shoulder height with the arm bent at the elbow. The palm faces outward with all fingers held upright and joined together. The left hand hangs naturally downward at the Buddha's side. This asymmetrical pose, one hand raised, one lowered, is essential to the mudra's composition. Buddha is shown performing Abhaya Mudra immediately after attaining enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. This timing marks the moment when he achieved complete spiritual awakening and transcendence. The raised hand gesture instills fearlessness in those who witness or meditate on the mudra. This mudra thus communicates Buddha's wish to calm devotees and remove their anxieties. Abhaya Mudra uses only the right hand raised, never both hands. The mudra appears after enlightenment, not during the meditation or ascetic practices that led to it. Most students think Abhaya Mudra shows both hands raised during Buddha's enlightenment meditation. From only the right hand is raised, shown immediately after enlightenment is attained. This distinction appears frequently in sculpture identification questions. Dharmachakra Mudra literally means turning the wheel of dharma, or setting dharma in motion through a hand gesture. This mudra visually communicates Buddha's act of initiating the teaching of Buddhist law. Both hands participate in Dharmachakra Mudra. The right hand is positioned at chest level with palm facing outward. The index finger and thumb of the right hand join to form a mystic circle. The left hand turns inward. Its index finger and thumb also join together. Both circles, from right and left hand, touch each other at chest level. Dharmachakra Mudra represents Buddha's first sermon delivered at Deer Park in Sarnath immediately after his enlightenment. This gesture symbolizes the moment he began teaching the Dharma to his 5 disciples. UPSC links Dharmachakra Mudra directly to the first sermon at Sarnath, also called Dharmachakra Pravartana or the turning of the wheel of law. This is the foundational event in Buddhist history and appears frequently in art history MCQs. Dharmachakra requires both hands positioned at chest level, a key distinction from Vitarka Mudra, which uses only the right hand at shoulder level. Remembering this 2-hand versus 1-hand difference is essential for sculpture identification. Most students confuse Dharmachakra with Vitarka because both involve hand circles. Wrong. Dharmachakra uses both hands at chest. Vitarka uses only right hand at shoulder. This distinction determines which sermon or teaching moment the sculpture represents. Anjali Mudra represents greetings, devotion, and adoration, the physical form of Namaste. This hand gesture communicates respect and reverence in Indian artistic and spiritual traditions. Both hands are positioned close to the chest, with palms and fingers joined vertically. This precise positioning distinguishes Anjali Mudra from other hand gestures in Buddhist iconography. Namaste is the common greeting throughout India that corresponds to Anjali Mudra. The mudra translates the everyday gesture into formal, artistic, and devotional representation. Anjali Mudra signifies adoration of the superior and expresses deep respect toward a revered figure. This significance makes it a critical marker in identifying the status and relationship of figures in Buddhist art. True Buddhas, those who have achieved enlightenment, never make the Anjali Mudra gesture. Only Bodhisattvas, beings on the path to enlightenment, perform this gesture of veneration. Anjali Mudra must not appear in Buddha statues but only in Bodhisattva statues. This distinction is crucial for correctly identifying the spiritual status of the figure depicted in Buddhist sculpture. Most students think Anjali Mudra can appear in Buddha statues. Wrong. True enlightened Buddhas never make this gesture. only bodhisattvas do. Remember, Anjali Mudra shows devotion to a superior, so it logically cannot depict the ultimate unsurpassed Buddha. Uttarabodhi Mudra represents supreme enlightenment, perfection, and the charging of spiritual energy in Buddhist iconography. This gesture embodies the highest state of awakening and the transmission of transformative power to the devotee. Both hands are positioned at chest level with all fingers interlaced together except the index fingers. This positioning creates a unified gesture from the core body, symbolizing inner cohesion and spiritual control. The two index fingers extend straight upward and touch each other at their tips. This vertical extension represents the upward movement of spiritual energy toward the divine realm. Uttarabodhi Mudra symbolizes the achievement of perfection and actively charges the practitioner with spiritual energy. The gesture functions both as a representation of enlightened state and as a conduit for transmitting divine power. Shakyamuni Buddha, the Tathagata and liberator of the Nagas, presented this mudra in Buddhist canonical texts. The association with Shakyamuni establishes Uttarabodhi as an authentic gesture rooted in the Buddha's own teachings and spiritual authority. Vara Mudra represents the gesture of charity, compassion, and granting wishes in Buddhist iconography. This hand position embodies the Buddha's willingness to bestow blessings and fulfill the desires of devotees. In Varada Mudra, the right arm extends downward naturally with the palm of the open hand facing outward toward viewers. This open palm position signals accessibility and benevolence to all who approach. Varada Mudra can also be performed with the left hand instead of the right. The directional hand matters less than the open palm gesture itself for conveying compassion. The 5 extended fingers in Varada Mudra symbolize 5 perfections: generosity, morality, patience, effort, and meditative concentration. Each finger carries spiritual significance in Buddhist philosophical teaching. Varada Mudra represents the 5 perfections through its 5 extended fingers, a concept that appears frequently in UPSC multiple choice questions on Buddha Mudras. Remember this finger to perfection connection for sculpture and iconography sections. Karana Mudra is the gesture of warding off evil and expelling demons from Buddhist iconography. It's used to remove obstacles like sickness and negative thoughts from the practitioner's life. In Karana Mudra, the hand is stretched out horizontally or vertically with the palm facing forward. This forward-facing position is crucial. It creates the expelling motion toward unwanted forces. The thumb presses down on the 2 middle fingers while the index and little fingers point straight upward. This specific finger arrangement distinguishes Karana Mudra from other Buddhist hand gestures. Karana Mudra expels demons and negative energy while removing obstacles like illness and negative thoughts. This makes it symbolically powerful in Buddhist art, representing active protection and cleansing. Vajra Mudra represents knowledge and supreme wisdom in Buddhist iconography. This gesture embodies the idea that intellectual understanding is the highest spiritual achievement. The hand position consists of the erect forefinger of the left hand held inside the closed fist of the right hand. This specific positioning is the defining characteristic of this mudra. Vajra Mudra also appears in mirror inverted form in some Buddhist sculptures and artwork. This variation shows regional and stylistic differences across Buddhist traditions. This mudra is better known and more frequently depicted in Korean and Japanese Buddhist art. East Asian schools adopted and emphasized this gesture more prominently than South Asian traditions. The significance lies in representing the importance of knowledge in spiritual practice. The right fist protecting the forefinger symbolizes how wisdom must be guarded and preserved from ignorance. Vajra Mudra uniquely positions the left forefinger in the right fist, opposite to intuitive expectation. This counterintuitive arrangement makes it distinctly recognizable in Buddhist sculptural traditions. Most students think Vajra Mudra has the right forefinger in the left fist. Wrong. It's the left forefinger in the right fist. This counterintuitive positioning is exactly why UPSC tests it as a recognition detail. Post-Mauryan architecture had 2 cave types, Chaityas for prayer and Viharas for residential use. The Chaitya style was new in the post-Mauryan period, marking a shift from earlier Mauryan stone architecture. Ajanta contains 29 caves total, 25 Viharas and 4 Chaityas, spanning centuries of Buddhist construction. Karle's cave exemplifies the monumental Chaitya hall design with its impressive rock-cut architecture. Odisha holds two major cave complexes, Udayagiri with 18 caves and Khandagiri with 15 caves. The Hathigumpha cave at Khandagiri bears Brahmi script inscriptions crediting King Kharavela with their construction. The Shunga period introduced Toranas, elaborately decorated gateways, at Stupas as a new architectural feature. Bharhut and Sanchi Stupas display these ornamental gateways with narrative and symbolic relief carvings. Gandhara art emerged in the northwest frontier region under Kushana rule, blending Greek and Roman artistic traditions. Artists used bluish-grey sandstone and mud stucco to sculpt an Apollo-like Buddha with idealized Hellenistic features. Mathura style developed on the banks of the Yamuna River using distinctive spotted red sandstone. It was the first school to represent Buddha as a human form rather than a symbol, showing him smiling and muscular under Kushana patronage. Amaravati sculpture flourished in the Krishna-Godavari region under Satavahana rule using white marble. The style emphasized narrative and dynamic movement, particularly the Tribhanga posture where the body curves in 3 points. Bhumisparsha Mudra shows Buddha touching the earth, symbolizing his enlightenment moment. Dhyana Mudra places both hands in the lap, representing meditation and inner focus. Vitarka Mudra shows the right hand raised at shoulder level, the teaching gesture. Abhaya Mudra depicts the raised right hand after enlightenment, conveying fearlessness and protection. Dharmachakra Mudra shows both hands at chest level, symbolizing Buddha's first sermon at Sarnath. Anjali Mudra with palms together is used only for bodhisattvas, never for depictions of true Buddhas. Varada Mudra extends the arm downward with palm open, representing the 5 perfections. Vajra Mudra positions the left forefinger inside the right fist, symbolizing knowledge and the union of wisdom. Ajanta caves total 29 structures comprising 25 Viharas monasteries and 4 Chaityas prayer halls. Prelims tests this exact composition breakdown in statement-based MCQs. A Hathigumpha inscription records Kharavela's reign in the Brahmi script, carved into a cave at Udayagiri in Odisha. This inscription is crucial for dating Mauryan successor dynasties. The Kushana dynasty patronized both Gandhara and Mathura art schools, while the Satavahana dynasty supported the Amaravati school. Each patron shaped distinct regional sculptural traditions. Amaravati used white marble as its primary medium, creating luminous relief sculptures. Mathura sculptors chose red sandstone, producing warm-toned Buddha and Jain images. The Tribhanga posture 3-bend stance originated in Amaravati school sculptures, showing graceful weight distribution. Mathura school produced the first anthropomorphic Buddha images, breaking from earlier aniconic symbol-only traditions. Dharmachakra Mudra wheel turning hand gesture commemorates Buddha's first sermon, delivered at Sarnath in Deer Park. This mudra appears across multiple post-Mauryan schools. Anjali Mudra prayer hands should not appear in true Buddha statues because Buddha himself transcended gesture-based devotion. Only bodhisattvas and attendant figures display this mudra. Varada Mudra, gift-giving hand gesture, represents 5 perfections: generosity, morality, patience, effort, and concentration. This mudra signifies abundance and compassion in Buddhist iconography. Bhumisparsha Mudra, earth-touching gesture, is uniquely associated with Akshobhya Buddha, the blue Buddha of the eastern direction. This mudra commemorates Buddha calling the earth as witness to his enlightenment. The Shunga dynasty introduced torans decorated gateways in Buddhist architecture, exemplified at Bharhut and Sanchi Stupas. These ornamental archways became defining features of post-Mauryan shrine design. Greek art emphasized idealistic beauty, portraying humans as perfect archetypes. Roman art pursued realistic representation, capturing individual likeness and anatomical accuracy.